Hello friends, I'm Parvez and this is our first lesson in Python GUI development with PyQt5. So in this lesson we're going to have a simple introduction to PyQt5 and also an installation process. Also we're going to create our first window in PyQt5. So first of all, what's PyQt5? Now if you see the documentation for the PyQt, so PyQt5 is a set of Python bindings for v5 or version 5 of the Qt application framework. Now you can see that PyQt5 is a set of Python bindings for Qt application framework. Now what's Qt? And if you see, Qt is a set of C++ libraries and development tools that includes platform independent abstractions for graphical user interfaces like networking, threads, regular expressions, SQL database, OpenGL, XML, and so different modules. Now if you're familiar with C++ programming language, now if you want to create graphical user interface applications in C++, you can use Qt framework. Now if you see the website of Qt, you can see it's a cross-platform software development tool for creating of GUI applications in C++, so you can download from their official website qt.io. Now as you can see that PyQt5 now implements over 1000 of these classes as a set of Python modules. PyQt5 supports Windows, it's cross-platform, it supports Windows, Linux, Unix, Android, macOS, and also iOS platform. So now one important issue that I'm going to point, we have PySide2 and we have PyQt5. Now PyQt5 is not related to Qt company. It is related to riverbankcomputing.com, and for Qt they have their own library that's called PySide2. So that's similar to PyQt5. Now let's just talk about the license. So you can see that PyQt5 is dual licensed on all platforms under the Riverbank commercial license. So now you can see that your PyQt5 license must be compatible with your Qt license, and you can use GPL version, then your code must also use compatible license. So you can see that you can use PyQt5 under commercial license and also GPL v3. Now if you want to purchase a commercial PyQt5 license, so this is the commercial license and price is 550 USD, and this is the commercial license. Now let's talk about the installation process of the PyQt5. Now before installing of PyQt5 you need to download Python. Now for the purpose of this video we are going to use Python 3.7, so you can just download from here, and I'm using Python 3.7. So after the installation of the Python, and you can use pip, so pip install PyQt5 and it will be installed. Okay, after PyQt5 installation, now we need, so you can see it's the latest released, and after installation now we need an ID. So for this I'm using PyCharm ID from jetbrains.com. There are two licenses. They have commercial license that you can buy, and also they have community edition. So we are using community edition. You can download from jetbrains.com, and the .exe, it's free and also open source, like this. Okay, now I have already installed all the requirements, and this is my PyCharm ID interface, and also I have already created a project with a Python file. Now you can just click on the new, and after that new project, and from here you can give your project name, whatever you want, and after that click on the create. Now I'm not using any virtual environment, but if you want to use virtual environment, you can just using PyCharm you can create virtual environment easily, or you can just click on new environment using virtual env, and from here you can use virtual env, and this is the location, and after that you can install your PyQt5 and also all the stuffs in the virtual environment. But I'm using directly my Python, so I'm going to use existing interpreter. You can just click on this, and after that create project, and the project will be created. So after that we have now you can just click on the new, and you can create a Python file from here. So now let's create our first window in PyQt5. So first I'm going to just create some basic window, and after that I'm going to extend the window. So we're going to import sys. After importing sys from PyQt5 widgets, we are going to import GUI application and also GUI widget. The first thing we need now, you should remember that in every PyQt5 application we need to create the object of GUI application, and it's required. You can just say app GUI application, and in here you can pass sys.argv. Now it's not necessary, and you don't need to add this in here. Now the sys.argv allows command line arguments for our applications. If we are not going to use command line arguments, then we can just make it like this, and there is no problem. So I will show you that there is no problem that if we remove this and make it an empty list. So for right now I'm going to just add sys.argv in here. Now after that we need to create GUI widget in here, the object of GUI widget. Now there are three types of window classes that you can use. Right now I'm going to just use GUI widget, but I will describe about this in the later part of the video. We can just say window and GUI widget like this. Okay, so it's the base class for all widget window. After creating of our window or GUI widget object, now we need to start our loop or our event loop. So we can just say app dot execute like this. Okay, so now you can see that we have just imported our sys, and also from PyQt5.qt widget we need GUI application, we need GUI widget. In every PyQt5 application it's important to create the object of our GUI application, and you can add sys.argv, but it is not required. You can just leave it as an empty list, and this is in here we have created our GUI widget object, and this is the starting point of our event loop. Now let me just run this. If we run this right now, there will be no window. So now let me just show you. You can see that we are not receiving any window. It's because we need to show our window. So in here we have created our window. Now there's a method in GUI widget, that's show method. Now we can use show method for showing of the window. We can say that window dot show, and now you can see that we have received our first window in here. You can see that how easily we have created our first window to PyQt5. It's like right now this is just a basic window. We don't have any title, we don't have any icon, but we will create this right now. Alright guys, now we're going to use object-oriented programming, and we're going to create our first window. Now I've already created a new Python file. It is second window.py. First we need to just from PyQt5 Qt widgets, we are going to import our GUI application, and also we are going to add GUI widget. So these are the codes, the imports that we have used in here. So GUI widgets, we have used GUI application and also GUI widget. And also we need to import sys, and now from PyQt5 Qt GUI import GUI icon. Also I forgot to show you that if I remove this, make it an empty list, and now if I run this, you'll see that there's no problem and we are receiving our window. So it's just for command line purposes that we are going to add this sys.argv in here. Now we have used so let me just for right now remove this GUI icon because it will be confusing. Right now we have imported just these two lines of code. After this we are going to create our main class. Now I'm going to call it class window example. Now if you're a Python developer, you will be familiar with the object-oriented programming in Python. So okay, now this is the class window example. Now this class extends from GUI widget. Now we are not going to use GUI widget directly as we have used in here. Now we have a class window example that extends from GUI widget. So in here, the GUI widget is our base class, and this is our derived class. And if you see GUI widget, let me just go to declaration or usage. So you can see that it is a class, and there are different methods and attributes that we can use. So you can see that it is a class that we have different methods in here. So now we need to create our init method. Okay, now this is a reserved method in Python classes, and it's called as a constructor in object-oriented programming. And this method is called when an object is created from a class, and it allows the class to initialize the attributes of the class. After this, we are going to just create our super function. So we can just say super, and the super function is used to give access to methods and properties of a parent class. And the super function makes class inheritance more manageable. So you can see that in here we are using inheritance in Python programming language, and you can just remove this. Also, there's no problem if you do it like this, and let me just remove this, or you can do it like this, or you can just okay. Now so after creating this, now because we are using object-oriented programming and we are using class inheritance, now we can access to, now this window example class can access to all attributes and also features or methods of the GUI widget class. Now what I mean, for example, we can say self.setGeometry. Now the setGeometry method is related to GUI widget. It's not related to window example class. It is a method that is related to GUI widget. The setGeometry method. Now for the setGeometry method, there are four things that we need to do. So the first one is you need to give the x and y position. So the first one is the x position, and the second one is the y position. So it is the x and y position of the window location. And after that we can give the width and height of the window. So we can just give it 400 and also 300 like this. Now in here you can see that we have used self in here. Now what does mean this self? So the word self is used to represent the instance of the class. By using the self keyword, we can access the attributes and the methods of the class in Python programming language. Now after this we need to just say self.show because we need to show our window. If you see in here we have showed our window. You can do it in here like this, and also you can do it at the bottom. There is no problem. Now as I have said that in every PyQt5 application we need to create the object of our Q application, so we can just say app Q application, and you can give it sys.argv or you can leave it as a blank list. There's no problem, so I'm going to just say sys.argv. Now we need to create our this window example object, so we can just say window example, and after that we are going to start our loop in here. So sys.exit, and we are going to just say app.execute. Now let me just describe once again. These are our imports, and here we have created a class. This class extends from the QWidget class. After that we have our init and also super method, and this is geometry of the window, the X and Y position, width and height of the window, and here we have showed the window. And at this section we have created the object of our Q application. Now let's just run this. Now you can see that we have our first window in here. This time we have used object-oriented programming. Now one important issue that I have already talked about this, that there are three types of window classes that you can use, and here we have used QWidget. Now and we have see that we are receiving a nice window in here. Right now we don't have any title and icon, but we will make this. So now there's another class that's called QDialog. Now if I make this QDialog and if I run this, you can see that I have another window, but this time you can see it's like dialog. And if I make this QWidget again, let me just import QWidget and QWidget. So you can see that in this window we can minimize, we can maximize this window, but in QDialog it was like a dialog. You can see it's like dialog. And also we have QMain window. Let me just say QMain window. It's like QWidget. You can see that it's like a QWidget, and you can minimize and maximize this window. Now what are the difference between QDialog, QWidget and also QMain window? So the QWidget class is the base class of all user interface objects. Now the widget is the important point of the user interface. It receives mouse, keyboard and other events from the Windows system and paints a representation of itself on the screen. Now if you see this QMain window definition, so let me just go to declaration or usage. So you can see that our QMain window extends from the QWidget. Now it means that the QWidget class is the base class for all the user interface objects. Now another thing that we have, that's QDialog. Now the QDialog class is the base class of dialog window, and a dialog window is the top level window. It's mostly used for short-term tasks and brief communication with the user. For the QDialog, maybe also modal or modelless. After that we have a QMain window. Now the QMain window class provides a main application window, and a main window provides a framework for building an application's user interface. Now PyQt5 has QMain window class, and it is its related classes for main window management. QMain window has menu bars. It has its own layouts like QToolbars, QDoc widgets, dockable widgets, dockable windows, and also QStatus bars. So this was the difference between these QDialog, QWidget, and QMain window. So now let me just change this to QWidget for right now. Okay, so now you want to add a title for the window. Right now we don't have any title for the window, so you can just say self.set window title, and for example we can give a title geekscoders.com, and let's run this. You can see that we have a title in here, geekscoders.com. Now also you can set an icon. So for this we need to use a class that's called QIcon. So it's related to Qt GUI. So from PyQt5 GUI import QIcon, and in here we can just say self.set window icon, and I've already copied an icon in my working directory, so it is a .png, so python.png, and let's run this. Now you can see that I have a nice Python icon in here. So there are more methods that you can use inside QWidget class. For example, you can set self.set fixed height. For example, for the height I'm going to give it 400, and self.set fixed width, and for this I'm going to give it 300. Now it's the fixed height and width of the window. So now if I run this, I cannot change the width and height. So you can see that I cannot do this because I have defined a fixed width and height. Now if I comment this, you can see that there will be no problem in my window resizing. Also you can set opacity for the window. We can just say self.set opacity, set window opacity, and it's between 0 and 1. For example, I'm going to give it 0.5. It is a floating value, and you can see that we have an opacity window in here. Also you can set style sheet for the window. You can give a color for the window, a nice color. We are going to just use self.set style sheet, and I want to change the background dash color. For example, I want to give it green. You can see that I have a nice green window in here. So thank you guys. If you have any question, please let me know. Also for the source codes, you can just check geekscoders.com, and you can get all the source code from there.